Hey everyone. Um, just wanted to do a tank update on my 10-gallon planted aquarium. Um, I've had it. I've had fish in there for 3 weeks now, but I've had plants in there for longer, um, and um, I had it cycling for about a couple months with plants in there, because I used the fishless cycle method, which basically involves adding ammonia so that the bacteria that convert the ammonia to nitrites and then to nitrates can develop, because ammonia is a source of food for them. Ammonia is basically what fish secrete uh, as a waste product, and that's um, it turns out that it's very toxic to fish. Um, anyway, so that's the 10-gallon. I have basically three broader species groups in there. So one is so this is the male flame dwarf gourami. Um, is that guy? And then the other three colorful ones are broadly known as platies. Two of them are this group called Variatus, so they're Variatus platies, and then the white one is called a panda platy, because you see there's a sort of he's white and black at the back, like pandas are. Okay, and then the other species in here is the Cory catfish. These are emerald green cories. They're bottom feeders. They like to sift through the sand for leftover food. So they're great as sort of aquarium. They're a great aquarium cleanup crew. Um, One thing about these fish though is that they evolved their whiskers. So if you look closely, you'll see that they have like pretty long whiskers that they use to dig up food from the sand. And they evolved these whiskers in a very sandy environment. Um, they they come from South America, where in places where there's a lot of sand in the riverbeds. So they evolved there, and so they really don't feel at home with gravel. So I had this aquarium in gravel before. But then I replaced some of the gravel with fluorite sand, which is uh, a sort of pre-fertilized sand substrate material. But some of it is still gravel. As you can see here, most of it is sand. I have some remaining gravel in there. I basically didn't want to take it all out because the plants had already rooted some of them. So, but I think this much sand is good enough for the cories. A lot of people keep cories in gravel substrates, but it's not ideal, I don't think. Um, okay, and there's actually a small platy in there which I basically got for free as a fry. Um, when I got one of the other platies. Um, I don't know if you can see her, but she's in that Java moss area. So yeah, she's right in front of that black platy right there. I think, knock on wood, she's big enough now that they can't eat her. So she was very small in the beginning, but that patch of Java moss basically saved her, because she would basically hide in there, as she still does, and collect bits of food that would get tangled in the moss, and she basically survived eating that food and hiding in the moss. Because she was definitely too small. She's about 3 times the size as she was before. So she's definitely too small then to survive because the other fish would have just eaten her. I just fed them, so that's why they're like looking for food in the sand. Yeah. So just a quick tour of the plant species I have in here. The big centerpiece plant you see at the back is called Amazon sword. It's actually, after I bought it, I realized it's a bit too big for my aquarium, but I don't have another planted tank at the moment, so I can't really put it anywhere else. But it's living, so and it's doing well, I think. Then this plant over here, this set of plants is called Cardamine lyrata. It's been fairly fast growing. I got so many stems that it was hard to plant them in the substrate. So what I did was I used this bit of driftwood, which is called cholla wood, and I stuck the stems in there, so it kind of creates this effect of plants kind of growing out of that driftwood. And then this plant here is called the giant hygro. And then this plant is very famous among aquarists. It's called the Anubias. It's doing pretty well in the aquarium. And then this plant is the Brazilian pennywort. Mine aren't doing as well as I would have liked because I planted them at a time when I only had the gravel substrate, which wasn't fertilized, so it's just regular gravel. So I don't think they got off to a good start in terms of nutrients. But hopefully they'll perk back up eventually. And then that clump of moss, which saved the fry, is called Java moss. So I bought it basically for the purpose of saving fry in case any of my platies have babies. The yellow one and the black one are females, and this white one, this panda, is a male. You can tell if you look at well, he's hiding behind there now, but if you look at the anal fin, it's a straight fin, straight sort of elongated fin, whereas the others have a sort of triangular wedge-shaped fin. And the baby platy, it turns out, is a female. So she just got big enough so I could tell what sex she is. I actually lost a couple fish in here since I've set it up. I lost one of the other Variatus platies that I had. And I actually lost a gourami, which was a blue one, but basically the same species as this guy, or at least the same group of species. And I actually puzzled over why they died, because they seemed perfectly fine. They didn't seem stressed or anything the night before they died, and then in the morning they were dead. And I think my suspicion is, well, it certainly wasn't an ammonia or nitrite spike, because I tested for those and the levels were basically 0. So I think it might have been a fertilizer I use, which is pretty common. It's called Flourish Excel. It's this bottle right here. What it is a source of carbon. So plants need CO2 obviously to photosynthesize, and um, they generally, if you have a densely planted tank, they generally need more CO2 than is being produced by the fish through respiration. So one way to get extra carbon in there is to add a Flourish Excel. The other way is more high tech, which is you have a CO2 system which injects CO2 in there, but that's way too expensive for me at the moment. And so basically that acts as a source of carbon, but it's made of glutaraldehyde, which is used as a disinfectant apparently in medical scenarios, and for other purposes. But they discovered that glutaraldehyde can aid in plant growth in planted aquaria. But what happened this particular time is I've been dosing what they say is the dose, which is well, Flourish Excel. The recommended dose is 1 milliliter per 10 gallons every 2 days or every day. So every day being the maximum dosage, and that's what I was doing. But the day that my fish died, I had put it in the night just before the lights went off. I have a timer for these lights so that they stay on about 10 hours a day. And I suppose that must have made it the case that that stayed in the system for a longer period of time than usual, because normally I add it in the morning so that the plants can absorb it as the day goes on. So that must have been it. So I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. It could be a host of other things. You never know, I guess. But yeah, so for any other beginning aquarists in the planted aquarium hobby, I would suggest using a high degree of caution with Flourish Excel, because if you don't dose it right, you could end up losing fish. Alright, so that's my 10 gallon as it stands. It's my only planted aquarium. My other aquarium, which I just made a video about, is this bigger one. It's a cichlid tank. There's no plants in there because the Mbuna cichlids are notorious for destroying any plants you put in there. So, alright, well, that's it for this tank update.